Happy Monday, guys. Welcome to PuckTime on WagerTalk TV. We've got some picks for you guys. We've got some sides, totals, some props, a play of the day, some system plays here for today. A lot of good stuff here on the show, and it's shockingly a decent slate here on a Monday, January 12th. Hope you guys all had a fantastic weekend. Shout out to all of you guys in the chat box, all of you guys that ask questions, and, of course, all you guys that tune in and share your picks. Of course, you know, Carm and I, we love to hear from you. And Carm, you know, one of those weekends, I'm not going to be too upset, man, because you know what? It was a pretty good weekend. You know, I ended the weekend with a Saturday night NFL 5% loss. But Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you know what? Overall, we were in the win column more than we were in the loss column. And I will take that, and I'll feel pretty good about it. And yesterday, I have big news to announce, sarcastically, that I have finally hit a first period over again. And I am very excited about that. The Mammoth and the Blue Jackets went first period over. I thought about it, and I said, this is the perfect spot for it after the Columbus got blanked in their game the night before against Colorado. Carm, we never can really keep track of the NHL schedule makers with what they're doing, but here they go today, providing with us with a pretty good Monday slate. How are you, Carm? How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. Yeah, a huge slate of games. I only had two plays yesterday: hockey play, which won, and 5% play on the Buffalo Bills, and that one got there. When you have the best player on the field, sometimes he just takes the team on his back, and that's what Josh Allen did in that game. And now they're off to Denver. I got to talk to Kelly after the show, because I know Kelly's a Broncos fan, and whether she's going to the game or not, or maybe just a friendly wager between the two of us. But Bills Mafia alive and well, heading into the divisional round. Some great games on the weekend as well, too. 2-1 on Saturday in the NHL as well, too. A profitable day in NHL, and 5-1, so close. The Minnesota Wild lose in OT. That's the only loser on the 6-60. We went 5-1. Could have gone 6-0, the first 6-0 of the season. But we'll take 5-1, and we will move on. I'm probably more happy the fact that the pod play won on Friday night. The pod, the new graphic, the cold Carm comes through, man. Ice cold, fresh, just like Coors Lights. Andrew, with that said, man, let's talk about the defending Stanley Cup champions playing one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest team in the NHL, the Buffalo Sabres. Yes, you heard it here. I keep waiting, Andrew. I keep waiting for the roof to fall in on the Buffalo Sabres, and it just doesn't happen. I thought after that 10-game losing streak or winning streak where they lost to Columbus, that we might see a couple of losses, but man, they have bounced back on watching this team play, and they play such an organized game in their own zone, limiting teams' O zones. They're playing some phenomenal hockey, and they're going to have to do it tonight to beat this Florida Panthers team. Buffalo -115, Florida Panthers -105, total of 6. Andrew, how are you playing this one?
You know, Carmen, it's very hard not to look towards some goals in this one here, and you know, I'm just shocked looking over at this here. The fact that Sergei Bobrovsky has a 290 goals against average, but when's the last time we can say on a pretty good size sample that Sergei Bobrovsky has an 880 save percentage? Like, don't look now, but there's a couple Buffalo goaltenders that are outperforming Sergei Bobrovsky. And this is the guy that's won back-to-back, you know, Stanley Cup championships. He was, you know, potentially going to be a guy that could have been a Conn Smythe winner, but then Sam Bennett just took off for them last year in the postseason. But, you know, this team they're kind of leaking a little bit more goals than I kind of thought they would on a larger scale. And then the games that they have been able to kind of limit teams, they haven't worked out for them either themselves. Now, they're coming off a win against the Ottawa Senators, but I talked about it with you last week about that ridiculous schedule the schedule makers gave the Ottawa Senators. That should have been a play for us for sure. I don't know if you were on it or not, but this is to me a spot where we look for some goals. We have had this Florida Panthers team bouncing around a little bit here. You know, they're in town to take on the Leafs, in town to take on my Canadians. They're taking on the Senators. Now here they are, Monday Night Hockey, taking on the Buffalo Sabres. The funny thing is they still have actually a couple more games left of their road trip. After that, they'll take on the Hurricanes and then the Capitals before they return home to host the San Jose Sharks. But I'm looking towards the over 6 in this game here. I'm looking at the Sabres right now, and their offense is humming. You know, you got 15 goals your last 3 games. You got a lot of guys that are making noise for this team. A lot of the advanced metrics talking about how weak and leaky the Florida Panthers defense can be. But you said it yourself, Carmen, all jokes aside, like we're a little bit surprised by the level of consistency this Buffalo Sabres team has been able to maintain. The question is, can they do it defensively? Now, the Ducks are struggling a bit. They still got 3 goals on them. The Rangers, we know how bad they can be at home. They scored 2 on them. You know, the Canucks are the Canucks. The Jackets are the Jackets. The Stars were struggling. And I know you don't want to hear this from me, Carmen, because they have been playing. I mean, hell, they won 10 games in a row. But is it fair to say a little bit that when you look at the last 6 games the Buffalo Sabres have played, they haven't really played elite guys, elite teams? At the time that they played the Stars, even, the Stars were struggling. Is it fair to say that you're going to get a really motivated Florida team, and although they got some injuries, this is going to be a little step up from, you know, the Blues or the Rangers, and a little bit of a different type of team here tonight?
Yeah, no, I think you can only beat the teams they put in front of you. You know, and we're going to talk about that a little later on when we discuss the third game on today's slate for us. But I think it's the way in which they're winning. I think sometimes you look at I look at analytics a lot when I'm updating power ratings and such, and I'm just surprised by like high danger chances from the Sabres, ozone, defending or lower ozone time that they're giving teams, and they're making that extra pass in the defensive zone to alleviate pressure. They're keeping pucks to the outside, shots to the outside, which obviously help goalies, and they're clearing the front of the net, which is a good thing. So yeah, they're winning games. You know, the game against Anaheim, I think I remember somebody on Friday when I did the 6 and 6, he said, "There's no way I'm taking an over in a Sabres game. They're a dead under team right now." Well, they're not, but sometimes a team like Anaheim drags you into a game, and Anaheim's one of the better teams right now to the over-unders, and we'll talk about that a little later on with a stat. It's just the way the Sabres are playing right now. The game is essentially a coin flip. Florida will get healthy at some point. You know, Matthew Tkachuk obviously back on the ice. Who else? Barkov back on the ice, but just briefly skating. This guy's gonna. I don't think this guy returns prior to the playoffs. He probably could. For me, Andrew, I would probably look at the under in this game. The Sabres beat them earlier this season, 3-0 in a game. Why not again another low-scoring game? Colton Ellis is supposed to be the starter. As of this morning, the news I got that is he was in the starter circle, so it won't be Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, but it'll likely be Colton Ellis, and he played well in that 5-2 game against the Rangers. So, you know, with that said, I'd probably lean to the under here. The 6s, I think the 6s may in fact turn into maybe 5.5s. If there was a 6.5, I would bang the under right away on that one. But I seem to believe, you know, there's some teams, Andrew, I think are going to be fine as the season progresses, and they're not. The New Jersey Devils are not. The New York Rangers are not. There's so many teams that I thought would turn it around. It's not happening. Andrew, I'm going to give you a little bit of a surprise here. The Florida Panthers are in the midst of getting a player from the New York Rangers. You know who that player is? It's the bread man. But, Andrew, the Rangers are going to have to eat a lot of that salary, a lot of that cap space in order to make this deal work. Just give Florida another good player. What do you think?
Yeah, that better not happen, Carm. That better not happen. I hope your sources are wrong about that one, but we'll see. Because look around the league right now. Ask yourselves, okay, this team, would I rather be this team or the New York Rangers? Would I rather be this team or the New York Rangers? And I'll tell you what, I would rather be a lot of teams in the NHL right now besides the New York Rangers because they're in a very unique situation. Like, they've got a mix of younger guys and older guys, but let's be honest, they're not meeting up to their expectations. And everybody knows that I'm cheering for Canada at the Olympics, but I'm telling you, Jason Robertson should be on that team. A couple other guys should be on that team. They took JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck. They lost 10-2 over the weekend to the Boston Bruins. And JT Miller did not look good. Vincent Trocheck did not look good. You know, those guys, I think that it's a really weird situation. So I think you're right, Carm, but I think they don't want to go into a rebuild, but they can't really afford to. They're not going to probably make the playoffs this year, I don't think, this Rangers team.
No,
I don't think
they've lost Shesterkin. They've lost Adam Fox. You know, at what point do you say that this team's in trouble? You know what I mean? Like, Jonathan Quick is confirmed to start tonight, but he allowed 6 goals in that Bruins game. You know what I mean? I think you can call it a one-off, but the fact is the team isn't playing. And if we get some more troubling results, if they lose to the Seattle Kraken tonight on home ice and lose a couple more games, and once you fall that far behind near the bottom of the standings, it is tough to leapfrog so many other teams because you need so much to go your way. And we talked about being 10 or 11 points out of a playoff spot. Now in January, it is almost impossible to make up those points on either side of the ledger, whether in the Western Conference or the Eastern Conference. It is extremely tough. So I could see them selling off some pieces, and Panarin could very well be one of them. So we'll see where he ends up. But what the hell? Give Florida just another good player to deepen that team. That deal only works if there's some kind of a prospect that goes obviously that way. But if the New York Rangers eat up almost all of that salary, because Panarin wants a longer-term deal. I think I saw some numbers being bounced around, like 8.5 AVV or AAV or whatever those 3 letters are. But that said, I don't think the Rangers are ready to give him a long-term deal. So we'll see what happens there.
I'll give it to you, Carm. Annual average value. There you go. AAV.
AAV. Okay. Yeah. Well, there's so many of the CAA here. There's the AAA in Toronto. There's GA for Gamblers Anonymous, AA for Alcoholics Anonymous. Too many letters, man. And there's PT for PuckTime, which we're going to get back to right now as we discuss the Tampa Bay Lightning firing on all cylinders. Andrew, 9 wins in a row for this team. Philadelphia at home. These teams just played in Philly. So 2 games in 3 nights in the same venue. Tampa 162, Philly plus 133 at home. Total here is at 6.5, and it is dropping the total. Vidar, who did not start in that game, the 7-2 loss on Saturday, gets to start tonight. Where are you going with this one?
I have not been doing this as much lately, Carm, but I'm going to kind of go the opposite of the way the first meeting went, and I'm going to take the under here. Look, I know this Tampa Bay team they've been sometimes pushing totals over all by themselves in some scenarios. They've been doing it all on their own. But when I look at some of these numbers here, we'll look at the expected goals against right now. This Tampa Bay team in the last 10 games, 5-on-5, they're a top 3 team in expected goals against. Now you look towards expected goals for. Well, you got a bottom 10 Philadelphia team. Now, I do think that Philadelphia knows who they are. They know they can't go goal for goal with them. They're going to clog it up and make it as boring as a game as they possibly can. And if they do get a goal, they're going to sit on it. They're going to protect it. They're not going to really need to elevate it much, much more. I think the key to this game is staying out of the penalty box. Don't let that Tampa Bay power play get to work. Look, it's dangerous. It's dangerous to look towards it. And if you want to, you could look towards, maybe I would be interested in a little sprinkle. I don't love the VIG, but Tampa Bay under 3.5. You can take Philadelphia's team total under 2.5 at a pretty good price. You guys know I prefer the plus money, but I think this is one of those spots where you can look towards the opposite total that you saw in the first meeting. I find, Carm, it's more common for the same team to win twice than for the same total result to happen twice. So maybe Tampa Bay just keeps rolling, but maybe tonight it's 3-2 or 3-1. Who knows? But I'm leaning towards the under here. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think that is a good play. I think we sometimes we talk about the fact that if teams are playing like back to back in the same venue, or even back to back in each team's city, that you kind of want to go opposite of what you saw in the first game. And now I don't want to bet against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, their last 9 games have scored 4 or more goals in each of their games, but yet their team total for tonight, Andrew, sits at 3.5 even money to the over, and it's shaded to the under. 9 straight games where they've scored 4 or more goals, and the team total is juiced to the under 3.5 goals. It's got to tell you something. Vidar's been, despite some of the scores in the games, Vidar's been good over his last 10 games. I'm going to get to that stat later on in the pod when we discuss it, but I would lean to the under here. I think if you're going to take the under, you need to grab it now, where a couple of books still have it at 6.5, but I'm seeing 6s start to pop up on the board. And then you have books like FanDuel and DraftKings. And this isn't something bad against the books. This is just their business practice is they don't like even totals, 6s, 5s, 7s, whatever. Normally 6. So let's look at 6. If they have a line at 6 that other books have at if there's a line that should be 6, they have it at 6.5, shaded, juice to the under. When other books drop the line, they go to a 5.5 and juice the over. So they will never land on 6. You're almost never going to find a 6 at either one of those books. It's just they want a winner at the end of the night. Someone's going to win betting the over under, or someone's going to lose betting the over under. It's not going to be a push. Books don't make money on pushes, Andrew. So it's a practice that they have. So I'm not speaking ill will of either one of them, because my VIP host at FanDuel reached out to me this past weekend, and maybe I'll get them to sponsor the 6 and 60 for the rest of the season. We'll see. With that said, they have to make a nice donation to some charity in order for that to happen. I'll lean to the under with you on this one, Andrew, and see if we get a different type of game tonight, as the Lightning go for 10 in a row. They're trying to tie the Sabres for the longest streak of the season. So who knows? We'll see what happens there. Andrew, let's talk the game of the night, where it's not the line of the night, because this is minus 267 on the Colorado Avalanche. The Leafs plus 212. 6.5 is the total in this one. And I will say this, Andrew, you made a good point of, when talking about the Buffalo Sabres, of saying, look at some of the teams that they've played of late. And that is my point with Toronto. Toronto's playing extremely well right now. They've had some games that have gone to OT where they picked up points, but in their last 10 games, they've won 6 of them. Of those 10 games, they have only played 4 teams that are currently sitting in a playoff position, and their record against those 4 teams is 1-3. So that has got to tell you something, that 5 of their 6 wins have come against teams below the playoff line. They're not playing one of those teams tonight. They're playing the Colorado Avalanche, and the Avs are at home 19-0-2, 21 games, 19 wins, 2 overtime losses, all 19 wins in regulation.
Yeah.
So you know where I'm going.
I don't blame you, man.
In regulation.
I don't blame you. And you know that I've kind of gotten off the regulation bets, but with a team like Colorado right now, it's kind of hard to blame anybody. If you like them to win, Carm, why not play the regulation number? Because anytime that they're losing, they're losing it when it goes past extra time. So if you're going to take them to win, the regulation with Colorado is a pretty good idea. Do you think that when you look at this team, though, the Maple Leafs as well, they've been excelling, against poor teams, and then as well at home? I think that the fact that this is a home game, Colorado has been such a good home team. You just talked about it, but especially matchup wise, the fact of the matter is, looking at some of my numbers here, they've still been leaking defensively, this Maple Leafs team. There's still been a lot of chances given up. A lot of the websites that I use, a newer website that I started to use, looking at heat maps and looking at attention in your own end, it's not pretty for them. And diving into deep stats here, looking at some of the numbers, this team is bottom 10 right now in possession per 60. When you look at Colorado right now, where is it? Colorado is 70.25 Corsi for percentage per 60, suppressing shots, 26.9 shots on goal against per game. Toronto bleeding chances. Like, this to me is a team that's relying on goaltending. Do you ever notice how when the Maple Leafs lose, the fans always blame the goalies, and then when they win, nobody says anything about the goalies? It's like a coach. When a team is playing bad, you want to fire the coach. When a team is playing well, nobody says anything good about the coach. That's how it is with the Maple Leafs. And I'll tell you what, Brock Nelson, he's been pretty solid lately for the Avalanche, whether you want to bet a goal or an assist for him. He's been pretty solid. Arturi Lehkonen, you continue to get a minus 130 price with him to get a player point, which is pretty solid. I wouldn't talk you out of that, Carm, but I'll tell you what, I think that we're going to see on the road the Maple Leafs leak more goals than you will see at home, just simply based on those matchups. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, listen, I can see it. I think for the first time, Andrew, the first time this whole season, the Colorado Avalanche are facing, I'll call it adversity, but it really isn't, because such a lead that they have, in dealing with some injuries, because they have been injury-free all season long, and they've missed, Landeskog's missed the last 3 games. They're 2-1 in those games, the Avalanche. Devontae's has missed 4 games now. They're 2-2 in the games that since he's been injured. So obviously a little shuffling of the deck with players and lines and what have you. They're still a deep team, this Avs team, and they're a very good team. That's just the one sort of little thing you always worry about, is when a team finally starts a little bit of that luck starts to, and I don't want to call the Avs season luck, but luck in the sense of no injuries all season long, and that starts to dissipate a little bit, and you get a couple injuries on the team, and you wonder how they're going to respond. That's one of the things to look at. I think Wash Redskin said in the chat, just take the Avs on the puck line, and I did release the Avs on the puck line on Saturday because 18 home wins, 14 have been by 2 or more goals, and they won that game 4-0, so, or 4-0. I'm using some soccer terms now. So 15 of their 19 games by a goal and a half. It's like minus 106. I get it. I understand it. I always think that anytime you're taking a puck line, you should at the very least get a little bit of plus money going your way because of those stats I showed you last week on 1-goal games. So I think that's an important part of it. And we'll see. This is the start of a 4-game road trip for the Leafs. And normally, you want to get off to a good start on this trip. So we'll see what the Leafs do. But I think regulation's better. Going to get priced out of the regulation at some point, because I think that when people start looking at 267, they start looking at other ways of playing the Colorado Avalanche. So you start looking at the puck line, you start looking at regulation, because they still want to be on the team. They just don't want to lay minus 267, minus 270, or what have you. So we'll see where that number goes, but it should be about 150-ish right now. I'm seeing some 155s and 160s pop up in the regulation as well too.
And again, like, it's one of those things where you got to look at how, when a team wins, how are they winning? It's kind of like what I've been saying this for years about the Edmonton Oilers. When that team wins, they're probably one of the more consistent teams that when they win a game, you and I both know it, Carm, that they score 4 goals. It's very rare to see the Edmonton Oilers not hit their team total when they win a game. Like, they are correlated long-term with the over until, further notice. And some teams, it's a little bit different. And for this Colorado team right now, you can take them in regulation. You can trust that if they're going to win regulation, you can take the puck line, different spots like that. Want to give a shout out to Ghost Win Sports. Good to have you in here. Raven Ron, As always, so many guys in here with us as well. Comment here about the Carolina and Detroit game. We'll get to that in just 1 second. Perlo, shout out to you as well. TJ, good to see you. Wash Redskin, Ice X, Hal. So many of you guys watching the show, and we appreciate every single one of you guys dropping your plays. And got some Bills guys in here. Carm, got some football talk going on. And hey, guys, we welcome everything. We welcome everything. Obviously, we want to encourage mostly the hockey talk. We welcome everything. And I'm looking forward to hopefully cashing some tickets in both football and in the NHL tonight. Carm, we got that comment about the Red Wings game. I'm going to say this, and you tell me if I'm crazy, okay? Because I'm trying to be level-headed here. My Habs, I know I'm nuts, but my Habs, they looked awful on the weekend, and I know that's for a fact. And when I say awful, it was an okay game. They couldn't score. They couldn't get past Gibson, all right? So I need you to tell me, is this a prototypical flat spot for Detroit, even though it's against a good team, because they just won the game that was for first place in the division? Do you see a letdown here for them? And Carolina, with the way they're playing defensively, I've been waiting for the fade spot on Detroit all year long. And my friend and I talk hockey with every day. He's been saying, don't worry, it'll come. Regression will come for Detroit. We haven't seen it yet, but could this be a spot to go against them? And if it was a situational angle for me, it would just be because they're coming off that big win. What do you think?
I think the last time I went to Detroit to visit our front office and take them out for some dinner and drinks, we went to watch the Red Wings game, and they were playing the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Red Wings won that game, I believe, in OT. I think they won it in OT, 3-2, the under. Jersey ceremony tonight. One of my favorite players, Sergei Fedorov, Andrew, number 91. The only player ever to wear number 91 for the Detroit Red Wings. You can look it up, but I am accurate on this one. He's having his jersey retired tonight. So obviously there'll be a delay before this game gets going. And there's no way of finding out a stat on how teams perform when a jersey is retired, whether they're ready to go, whether they're super psyched in that first period, or whether it's just a normal hockey game. But that's what's going on today with this one. Carolina's won 4 straight. 3 of the 4, or you can look at even all 4, Andrew, and we talk about it, playing against like some struggling teams, the New Jersey Devils, who they're beyond struggling, but we'll get to that another day when we discuss them. But wins against like Anaheim, so and even beating Dallas when Dallas was on a 5-game skid before winning the following night in Washington. So it is one of those ones where Detroit's playing extremely well, and you just want to what do you want to jump off the boat just because Carolina is coming to town? Like, I don't. And I get it. You look at any line movement in this game, and it really hasn't happened. It opened at 153. It's at like 150. A couple books like that I respect, like the global markets, like Circa, are down to like 140 in this game, 138 at a couple books. That means some Detroit money is obviously coming in, whether it's sharp action or not, I don't know. But with that said, I think the Wings are playing extremely well. And they have all season long. They've had some spurts where they lost a few games, and you think, okay, well, this is it. This is where they not tank, but the regression to the mean, but it doesn't come. So that was a big win for them. I think they come home on a night in which a jersey goes into the rafters. They get the win here. They do it for Fedorov. What do you think? Man, that guy was so fun, so much fun to watch when he had the puck.
I forgot about that. Yeah, you could be right. I just what about an under in this game? What about this game being a little bit more of a suffocating game and a typical prototypical Carolina Hurricane game here for me? I just think that this is one of those situational spots where you're coming off a big game, you play very, very well. You got a Carolina team that's starting to play much better and get to their defensive metrics again. It's probably going to be a stay away from me, honestly. I appreciate the comment. We'll try and get this to you. We got the comment. There'll be lots of Red Wings royalty in the building, so I expect a big show. Sometimes that stuff can be a distraction, Carm, no? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm sorry. While you were doing that, I was trying to find the Detroit game that I went to that I went to watch. I believe it was 4-3 in overtime, with the game-winning goal coming by none other than, because we always had that guy in the chat, Raymond, getting the winning goal in overtime on the power play. But I get it; they're all going to be there tonight for this ceremony. It should be a great one, and I'm going to watch it. So maybe I'll be wearing my Patrick Kane jersey tonight while watching that game. So I won't have any action on it, but I will be watching it. I love these retirement ceremonies for players that, you know what I mean, I watched when I was younger. You know what I mean. So before black and white TV, of course. With that said, Andrew, with that said, Andrew, I want to talk a couple, just because we have a few moments before we do the same game parlay and the pod. I want to talk about like some Ralph Michaels, Stat Daddy, dropped us a couple images, and during this next month, leading up to the obviously leading up to the February 5th pause in the NHL season, where we're going to see a lot of, or obviously for the Olympics, we're going to see a lot of teams that are playing like on 1 day's rest. That 2 days rest, 3 days resting is gone. These are the top 10 records for when both teams are on 1 day's rest. Andrew, if you can bring that up, and I'll just go through it. And there you have it. Those are the top 10 teams. So you look at the Hurricanes when they're playing another team on 1 day's rest. And I get these are, you can look at it and say, well, when do these stats ever come into play? Well, they come into play when both teams are on 1 day's rest. You don't base your bets solely on this graphic or these numbers, but it is something to add when you're looking at analytics, when you're looking at teams, who's running hot, who's playing well at home, who's got playing against a weak goalie or the number one goalie. There's so many things that go into narrowing down where you're going to put your hard-earned money on. This is just another one to add to it. The Canes obviously doing well. The Kraken, look at the Kraken, who may not be having the greatest of seasons, but seem to be playing a little bit better. And they're the second best team up there as far as profitability goes on with 1 day's rest. So this is a Kraken team that travels a lot, Andrew. So I think that comes into it as well too. And then the other one is top 10 teams as far as over-unders or overs in this case. And the Anaheim Ducks, look at the Anaheim Ducks record here. This is based on obviously on profitability. If you're betting the Ducks, they are on a tremendous run, but you're up $1,000 betting Ducks overs. So that is pretty good. There are a lot of teams that are in that mix of like barely being profitable or barely being a loss leader or a loser. But with that said, the Ducks and the Sharks, man, Andrew, the Ducks and Sharks have been over moneymakers over the last little while. I think they're both in and around that same 11-1 or 12-1 type of record, their last 12 games. Do you equate that, Andrew, to the teams that just aren't playing well? Because they're not winning games, but they're losing games, but they're scoring goals. They're still competitive, other than the Sharks last night. I took the over in that game, and they got 2, but Vegas got 7. So Vegas has beaten them twice in the last few weeks by 7-2 score lines.
There's a possibility that they were relying on maybe a couple players. Like I always say, this is kind of like that dog days of the NHL season right now. We're leading up to the Olympic February 2-week break. The junior team I cover in where I live, we talk about that as well. When you're a couple months into the season, the excitement is kind of over with now of the start of the year, playing every team once. You go through the holiday season. Once you get into January, it's a little bit boring. And I feel like that's kind of the lull that they ended up hitting with. Carm, I apologize. Based on how you're reading it, I thought I had the right one up for you, but I had the wrong one. That's my mistake. I had it backwards for you. But here we go. Yeah. but we have it now, of course, but the both teams on 1 day's rest. You know what I noticed, though, about this? The top 10 over teams based on over-under profit. I noticed that a lot of these teams are potentially some of the older teams in the league. Like the Florida Panthers are one of the older teams. I believe the Kings, one of the older teams. I think the Blue Jackets and the Penguins are older. The Blues might be a little bit older. I'm not sure about the Oilers. Red Wings, I think that could be a mixed bag. I don't know. It's funny because sometimes people equate time off with the age, but look at this 1 day's rest, right? Hurricanes, Kraken, Canadians, Islanders, Flyers, Lightning, Devils. Like this to me is one of those charts where you kind of look at it and you say, okay, so what do all of these teams really have in common? And I do think that a lot of these teams actually have some youth on their team for the both teams straight up record. But this one here, they actually have a lot of older players. So, maybe, Carm, when it comes down to it, when you look at the older players, there's a lot of when you have a lot of time off, you look towards the under. When you have only 1 day off, maybe you look towards the over. It's kind of like some goaltenders that are older or younger, they prefer a certain amount of time off between games. Like they might perform very, very well if, how some backup goalies are just meant to be backups, but when they end up being a starter, they look a lot different. Sometimes that works out for them because they've had so much time off, they're fresh, but some goalies don't work well when they've played just 2 days ago. So kind of interesting to look at. I like looking at that stuff a lot because it is important to see how a team does. Like if you have a team today on Monday and they played yesterday, but the other team didn't play since Friday, how much of a difference does that really make? And I think it's actually an underrated thing to look at.
Yeah, no, I think, as we get into, and I said, we have just looking at my calendar here, we have basically 3 weeks of NHL left before the Olympic pause, and they're just mashing in this schedule. I would, for you guys in the live chat or watching a little later on, my Saturdays and Sundays are normally putting the schedule together for who our guests are going to be, and I look at the schedule from Monday to Friday because I don't want to schedule any guests on a day in which there's only like 1 or 2 games. We haven't seen the 1 or 2 games all season long. It's like minimum 5 a night, and the travel schedules, and those eventually will catch up to you. I think after the Olympic break will be extremely interesting because that is done. There's a lot of players who don't go to the Olympics who will have had 20 days of rest. And, maybe we see a reversal of fortunes for some of the teams in the bottom half of the NHL standings that start to make their push into a playoff spot. So the second half is going to be interesting, but I've been charting, I pretty much this whole weekend charted every single game for every single team, 1 day's rest, 2 days rest, 3 and 4 nights, 5 and 7 nights. It is unbelievable how the NHL is mashing these together. And the one thing that scares me, Andrew, is with a congested schedule, it opens the possibilities. It happens in pretty much every sport except for obviously football that play once a week, of injuries occurring, players getting injured. When you're playing like 5 and 7 nights and you're playing like 6 and 11 nights, these guys are on the ice. These guys are picking up like 20, 25, 30 minutes. Some of these defensemen, there's a chance of getting injured, your body just not recovering. And you don't want to see a guy go down with an injury. But
there's just no denying it, Carm, that the schedule has had a factor in the injuries. There's nobody in the NHL right now, none of the management can deny the fact that this condensed schedule for the Olympics has not played a factor in the, what they should have done? If they're going to do so many games in a row, you should be allowed more roster spots. You should be allowed more roster spots this year because you have to, how many. I bet you we're going to set a record this year for the number of players that have been called up from the American Hockey League. And speaking of the American Hockey League, Carm, we hit the play we gave out on Friday on PuckTime. Big puck line winner. Got to love that. +110, Ohio State. Michigan State. The Michigan State got it done.
Love to hear it. One quick thought. I just want to talk about like some struggling teams, Andrew, before we get into same game parlay and pod, and then close this out. Andrew, and feel free to jump in on this conversation. The New Jersey Devils. Yes, guys, I have bounced back from that horrendous New Jersey Devils bet I had, but they have not bounced back. This is a team in which, I talked about, Peter DeBoer is waiting for a job. The New Jersey Devils and TJ Salvador, I know you're somewhere you're watching this and listening to this because you're a Devils fan. This team needs to fire Sheldon Keefe because he just cannot play. He cannot coach. What ailed him with the Leafs is ailing him with New Jersey. His style of play just does not win games. Their general manager has to go. They looked terrible against the Pittsburgh Penguins after that 9-0 defeat. This is a team that went into Winnipeg the other night and lose 4-3. They finally scored 3 goals in a game. Give them credit. But they lost to a Winnipeg team that had lost 12 prior games and was on a 1-game win streak. And now it's I think a 2 or a 3-game win streak. The Devils are not making the playoffs. They have benched and made Dougie Hamilton a healthy scratch, which that doesn't play well with other players as well, too. They're going to move Dougie Hamilton. He has a 10-team clause, no trade clause in his contract. He'll only go to 10 teams. His agent says that they are going to open up that clause to include more teams, which means Dougie Hamilton is on his way out of New Jersey. The Devils are in deep, deep doo-doo. Andrew, thoughts?
Yeah, we got to get the Fire Fitzy trending on Twitter. Hashtag Fire Fitzy. I mean, the thing is, Sheldon Keefe, maybe he deserves to go, but at the end of the day, he didn't sign Dougie Hamilton to that contract. He didn't sign some of these depth players to the deal. If you look across the board, whenever this team has success, Carm, it's a handful of players, and that's it. It's Timo Meier. It's Nico Hischier. It's Dawson Mercer. It's a couple of the guys. It's Jack Hughes, of course. And that's about it. And I think on every single respectable good team, you need to have depth. And I think that Fitzy has done an awful job with managing the cap. We're living in a cap world. Like, you and I talk about a sport, a league every day where there's cap. Like, we're not on a baseball podcast where it's just like, hey, go and get this player. And it's a little bit different for what you're going to, like, this is a GM that I think has made some mistakes. Perlo says he didn't hire himself. Well, I think it's just, for me, they've just made a lot of mistakes. But I'll tell you, I think they can do some retooling. Like, I don't think this team is going to be a disaster. I think they could make some right trades, some right decisions, and it could help the team overall. I look forward to seeing kind of what this team does over the next couple of games. But the problem is that the Philadelphia Flyers got better. The Pittsburgh Penguins somehow got better. The New York Islanders certainly got better. Everybody around them got better. So that makes it a little bit difficult for them here, Carm. I got a quick same game parlay for us, just or 2 parlay legs here, Carm. I'll just bring it up on the screen for us if I can get that. And bang. We got Boom. 2 here, guys. And funny enough, they're both even money. All right. We're not going crazy, not knocking your socks off with some plus 700s here. We're just pairing 2 guys in 2 different parlays here. We got Slafkovsky and Demidov, both of them on the second line together. Demidov did well last time he played against the Vancouver Canucks. I believe Slafkovsky will have a bounce-back game. He was not very good on Saturday night, but he's had the best run, the best probably 2-month stretch of his career. You guys know how it goes. Hopefully I can cash a ticket with my Montreal Canadiens tonight. Colorado and Toronto. Carm, when it comes to this matchup, I think when you look at the Avalanche, you can take McInnis over 1.5 points. You can take Necas with his stuff, but it's nice to look at the next tier of options. And I think Nichushkin and Brock Nelson at plus 100, it's worth it to get me involved. If you guys want to bet the game, look at that number. We had a guy talking about it in the chat. It's minus like, what was it, Carm? 220. So people will say, hey, look, you're putting two players together to get a point and it's only plus 100. Well, I'll take that plus 100 over a plus or minus 200 or 220. I think if they have success, I think those two players will have success, and hopefully it will lead us to a winner tonight. 2 plus 100 plays, and I'm betting that same game parlay with my own money. I think that's good. I think it's plus 300. I think all four of those guys can have a good night tonight.
Well, who else's money would you bet it with?
Prez,
Oh,
come on.
yeah.
I always take Prez's. And, he's got the company account for us.
I told him to transfer me a couple of Bitcoin, but he just gave me the haha emoji on the text. I don't know. What kind of friends? Just 2 little Bitcoins. They're nothing until you cash them in. Okay. Andrew, just before I get to the same game parlay, just to finish my final thoughts for the guys in the chat talking about the Devils and who can score on the Devils. You know who else can score on the Devils? Luke Hughes. He scored 2 goals against his own team in that 3-1 loss to Carolina. Both of two of the goals were Luke Hughes scoring into his own net. So, hey, I wonder if there's a prop for that. Will this player score in his own goal? And for the guy who's asking me for a soccer play, I'll give you a goal scorer. And he's going to have to score in the other team's net. The Juventus Cremonese game today, take Canadian Jonathan David, who got the monkey off of his shoulders, whatever you want to call it. He scored a goal last time out, plus 125 anytime goal, Juventus today for Jonathan David as we get ready for the World Cup. And I'm heating up in soccer. Football's gone well. College football, Andrew, number 2 college football for me at WagerTalk during the playoffs and the bowls, 16-5-1. Absolutely phenomenal. But with that said, you guys have been waiting for the pod. So let's put it up, Andrew. Today's pod. Yes, I'm using the frigid background again. I am taking the under in the Philadelphia-Tampa Bay game, 6.5 minus 125. When I put it in, I'm seeing the numbers drop to 6 here. Vidar starting in goal tonight, 10 straight games where he's allowed 3 or fewer goals, but 8 of those 10 games, he's allowed 2 or fewer goals. He wasn't in net for that 7-2 loss on Saturday at home to Tampa Bay. He's in net tonight. We'll look for the Flyers to keep this game under the total. Under 6.5 is your pod play.
Carm, when you take unders for your play of the day, it's not really as exciting, Not really as exciting.
Because you got to watch the game, and it's just like when I take a soccer under, someone always asks me, okay, you got the under in soccer. How do you watch the game? I go, I don't. I watch, I know the game time, and I will check like 25 minutes into the game, a peek at the score, hope that it still says 0-0. And then I wait till about 3 or 4 minutes after the 45 minutes, because there's normally some added extra time, injury time. I want to see the halftime score, 0-0. You hope that that's there as well, too. And it's just like it is.
This guy says here, losing money isn't exciting. We need wins. And I agree. Winning is exciting. You got a comment here from DeBean Show and Carm. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the 6 and 60 is a look ahead Carm's getting you guys for the Saturday. 6 thoughts in 60 seconds. We are handicapping games nonstop. Like, I'm going to do some more work here for Monday Night Football, get my stuff all figured out. I already have a big play up tonight, 4% best bet. Going to figure out if there's anything else that sticks out to me, round out my NHL card. But Carm, you know how it goes. We start looking towards the next day, right? We're handicapping, looking towards the next day as well. So we always have thoughts, but just because we have a thought on something doesn't mean it's a play and it's a best bet and it makes our record, So, Carm, you're doing these plays of the day. We're tracking them one play of the day. You're not giving us 6 plays of the day every day.
Yeah. No, because the 6 and 60 is meant to be a first look at games that stand out to me prior to the betting line coming out. We do the show at 11 o'clock on Fridays. Normally, the opening lines will pop up for the Saturday games at around 12:30, 1 o'clock. And those are lines like not from sharp books. Those are lines that are coming out of like FanDuel, Fanatics, DK. And the totals aren't true totals, as I mentioned, because they like their 6.5s and their 5.5s. They don't like even numbers. So as far as totals, that goes out the way. And some of the favorites are shaded. So it's a first look. And then some of those games I may not want to play. Some of them actually end up making my card. So in a different variation, I had Colorado in the 6 and 60. I had Colorado on the regulation line, but as a client play, I had them at -1.5 because that was the better play. The more I dived into it, giving you guys a 5 pod plays or 6 pod plays without an accurate line that you can actually bet yourselves at your books would be irresponsible on my part. So that's why I don't do it. And the more games you bet, you can go 4 and 2 with the 6 and 60 as pod plays all in one night and lose money depending on the VIG. So one play, and that's how it's going to remain. One play a night, the one I think best fits, and hopefully this one, the under in this one fits. So they're obviously tough games to watch. I'm not going to be watching this game anyways, but it's not on my card. But a couple plays up for me in the NHL right now. 2 more plays going up. I just wanted to wait until the goaltending matchups were announced because that is an important part. And the morning skate news is starting to come in. One play will be up in NFL football. Went 2-1 to open up the wild card weekend, including a 5% winner yesterday and the Buffalo Bills. And soccer, no plays for me today. There's only a couple plays. We're running really good across all sports. So we have some great deals at WagerTalk. And I still say that 25% off if it's available on the 1-year all access is a great deal because I have a ton of stuff going on, including the World Cup. There's basically going to be no passing all year long, Andrew. That's how it is with me. Unfortunately, there's no passing. Every single day I will be working to put up plays for my clients.
When you look at this year with how condensed the NHL schedule is, then you look at this weekend, there was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of college football and NFL, jam-packed college basketball slates. You got all kinds of good stuff going on. And before we know it, Carm, we're going to have MLB back again. I love handicapping the CFL. It's a full-time gig. And we always tell you guys, if you're interested in grabbing our plays, the 7-day pass right now is still available, up and available for $69. I did lose my play last night in the NFL, but I still went 2-1 on the weekend. So it's a 10-3 run for me with NFL best bet player props. Yes, I'm not happy about last night's loss, but I got to look at the bright side here, Carm. 10-3, 13 picks. You know what? I'll take that all the time. Feeling pretty good about that. So
Fantastic,
far, it's a 2-pack. So far, it's a 2-pack for me in the NHL. Let's rock and roll, Carm. Maybe we'll try and get a special going for both of us with hockey. I'm starting to see the board well. Starting to get back on track with it once again, which is always a great feeling. Hopefully we can make some money here tonight. Guys, I love the fact that we get bigger slates on a night like Monday. People don't really like Mondays. It's kind of a slow start to your week. And now, bang, we got a bunch of games to handicap and to get to. Wishing you guys all the best of luck today. Hope you guys have a fantastic Monday. Shout out to all of you guys that join us live on the show. But if you can't make the show, comment below. We'll try and comment back and let you guys know we appreciate you as well. Hit the like button, guys, if you can. We got to get past at least 250 likes on YouTube. I know it sounds funny, but it does mean a lot to us. TJ, I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it. We'd love to have you here, and no problem at all. Take care, guys. We'll see you next time right here on Puck Time.